here with a talk at DigiMarCon 2022.
2022.
We're here. We're here. It actually
Finally.
happened.
Absolutely. Live.
Live.
Face
Exactly.
to face.
Face to
I can
face.
touch you.
Can you? Maybe not. Okay, it's all right. We've got hand sanitizer. It's fine. It's fine. So I'm here with Sid. Sid from Bruce Clay. Oh, look, he's got it.
Hand
He's got it.
sanitizer.
Look at
Plug
him.
for
Always
Dettol.
prepared. Good on you, mate. Yeah, look, we're here at DigiMarCon as we said, and I saw you just talk earlier,
Yes.
interpreting tweets from some really prolific figures. Can you talk a little bit more to that? Why did you choose to do that? Like, what was the incentive to do that?
Oh, yeah. It's an interesting topic. It's been around in my head for quite a while.
Okay.
And I haven't really seen people sort of do a breakdown. And the idea comes from all the breakdown videos people do,
Yeah.
unboxing videos people do. So I thought, how about we unbox some tweets?
That's a great idea.
And I
yeah.
thought it will be something different.
Yeah.
And I have actually been collecting some of these tweets for years. And
Oh.
and it was finally time that I brought them out.
You were waiting for this moment.
It was this
break them
moment,
out.
to break them out.
Oh, good on you.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. It was very invigorating. Like I really enjoyed how you took a timeline of certain people, what they talked about at certain points in digital history. I
Yes.
guess is a way to look at
Exactly.
it. And the importance of links and stuff that you talked about, being
Yes.
the number one. You feel that is still pretty much the pinnacle of what we're looking at in terms of links being the most important thing to consider.
Actually, no. I think links have sort of diminished in value significantly,
Oh, really?
right? So while when Google first came out, the basis of that search engine, their algorithm, was the links, and that's what differentiated them.
Mm.
But then over a period of time, as people started gaming those links, etc., Google brought in algorithm updates like the Google Penguin in 2011.
Google Panda
and
Pigeon.
exactly all of that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And they've diminished the value of those links. So while they're still important, but they're not the be all and end all.
Yes.
In fact, they're much lower down the pecking order, as per my own belief.
Okay.
Working across hundreds of clients.
Yeah.
So I think things like on-page SEO, the content, that's super important. Technical SEO is very important as well. So doing all those things is a lot more important.
Yeah, and look, I kind of agree with your point there because I was going to challenge you on that links thing, and
sound good.
I mean, where I started off, as we've just talked before, was in SEO, working with companies that were predominantly making websites, especially in the early days of digital, making
Yes.
websites and selling SEO as an attachment to that, and saying
Yes.
we're going to build the platform that your customers come to. However, we need to get them there. So hence,
Exactly.
I'm going to sell you SEO so much per year to get so many, potential leads, depending how much you pay us.
Absolutely. That's what it comes down to.
So, I mean, where that experience comes from my end is understanding how keywords work, and how you apply them to landing pages, how you apply them to content. Can you take us through a little bit about and sort of unpacking the idea of how keywords have evolved over time, especially given people's user experience and the way people interact with search engines online and
Yes.
social?
Yes.
How has that evolved, and where do you think it is now?
Okay. Actually, I'm doing a session tomorrow.
Ooh, here's a plug.
SEO in 2022 and beyond,
Awesome.
where I will talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
But basically, if you think about it, again, it goes back into that Google algorithm. And there's a massive change in how Google understands what people are typing into the search engine, right? So the query. So what used to be traditionally the keyword, it was you typed in those 2-3 keywords, and then Google looked for it in its index,
Right.
mapped those two websites, and then brought up the ones which mentioned those websites, right? Or those keywords.
Yes.
But now, I think it was in 2013 when Google came up with Hummingbird, which is the algorithm update.
Yeah, Hummingbird. Yep.
That is when Google's understanding of the keyword query massively made a jump based on NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming,
Yeah.
and based on it was no longer the keyword itself; it was what's the intent of those words, right? And it was taking whole sentences
Yes.
rather than just the word on its own,
Like long-term phrases.
long tail phrases,
Yeah.
etc., right? And
Yeah.
long tail keywords.
Yes.
So that's what made a big jump. So now, if we talk to 2022, it's more about people typing in entire sentences,
Yeah.
long tail keywords, all those kind of things.
Yeah.
Because people are also doing a lot of voice search.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
also
yeah,
picking. So all of that.
And it really aligns well with a lot of what we do at Salted Stone, like the actual buyer persona mapping, i.e., like people type in these phrases, which are usually pain points, right? And questions to their pain points,
Exactly.
like how do I remove this thing from my back? Whatever it is.
Yes.
Those kinds of things that people put in are like more the bespoke like questions that you're talking about, the long-term phrases. So, and when we consider those, then the strategies that you have to employ then to make sure that our content is coming to the top of the page for those long-term queries. How do you see that having evolved to what it used to be to what it is now? And what do you think is just like a little bit of an example might be a good way to go about implementing a strategy that accommodates that?
Right, you're killing me. You're just taking all the content I'm going to be speaking about tomorrow. But fine, let's
Sorry.
let's go a bit
Just
more
block
deeper.
your ears, people, if you don't want to be spoiled. Okay.
Yeah. So that's actually how most well most websites should do it. You've got all these great questions people are asking about you. You use that as the basis of content for your own website. Create a knowledge base,
Knowledge
right?
base. Yep. There you
So
go.
create a knowledge base, create FAQs, create blog articles around stuff that people, those pain points, they've just told you the pain points.
Yep.
Create data points for you. And then, as if you think about the funnel,
Yes.
right? So whether we talk about it as a marketing funnel or we talk about it as a keyword funnel, right? So people who are at the top end of the funnel, right? They've just started their research, right? So they are at the top end. So they don't really know. They don't know your brand.
Yep.
They are just saying, okay,
Yeah.
I've got this problem,
They're self-educating.
right? So they're educating at that point.
Yeah.
So if you have a lot of that content which is around knowledge base,
Yeah.
right, you will be able to draw people magnet
Mm-hmm.
into your website
Yeah.
with that kind of content, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then slowly, and they might have, and I think you were doing a presentation earlier,
Sure.
and you talked about your car buyer journey,
Mm.
and I think it was 179 data points, or
It was
something,
179 touch points through
Yep.
Google search. It was
Yep.
900 touch points all up.
All up, right? And therefore, and within that Google search itself, I think there were probably 50 touch points around knowledge base where people were just asking different
Yeah,
questions and all,
100%,
and then
yeah.
image search and all. So I attended your presentation as well.
I can tell.
And the thing is, so use that because people are going to ask a lot of questions before they come to you, right? And so if you create that knowledge base, you will make yourself a thought leader in their
Yep.
thing,
Yep.
and therefore they will be more willing to trust you,
Mhm.
right, and buy from you, and that's the end goal, isn't it?
Yeah, and look, I mean that top of funnel approach you mentioned is key. Like understanding what people are typing in, and then like you saw in my prezo, you can see how many people are looking at these knowledge based questions, and you can build further top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom of funnel content
Exactly.
for whatever purpose you are, based upon people's need, people's actual requests for information. Right, and repurpose it for whatever format. Is it a
Exactly.
blog? Is it a video? One of the key things I think you mentioned was that the key question people look for, and they're just self-educating. What's your sort of perception on like a pillar page strategy when it comes to having a page that sort of talks about every step of the funnel? Like at the top, it's like talking and educating about a particular pain point. The middle of the page sort of talks a little bit more about the solutions you could be employing to achieve your goals, and then the bottom of it starts to talk more about the brand being the solution. What's your interpretation of pillars?
So some people call it pillar page, some people call it the skyscraper technique, some call
I
it
never heard that one.
some people call it long form content.
I've heard that
right?
one. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a very big believer in that, actually.
Yeah.
Right.
Great.
And semantic SEO, which is again going into what I'm going to be talking about a little bit tomorrow.
Mhm.
That's one of the things that, because Google's understanding has evolved, right? And so you can, and we know people are putting a lot of questions they ask. We saw that. And so there were a lot of these touch points. So why not create one long form page which answers a lot of the related questions? I'm not talking about different topics, but something related to that topic. So you create the main topic and then subtopics within it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that will also help you with the featured snippet strategy, right? Because when people ask a question, Google now has the ability, based on one of the latest updates called passage indexing, where they can take content from somewhere in the page
Mm.
and surface it as the
And
response to
highlight
the
it. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah. I've seen
right?
that. It's great. Yeah.
Exactly. And so the way to do that is you put a question in your content and then answer it.
Yep. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So
100%.
so you can
And
do
all
those
those
things.
like linking pages that connect to a pillar page,
Yes.
could be considered sub pages of that within something like a topic cluster
Exactly.
approach.
So that is actually our firm and our founder Bruce Clay.
Yes.
He invented the concept called siloing, right? And we invented site architecture back in early 2000s.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what now when we talk about the pillar page, etc., and so you've got the parent page and child pages, right? That's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And then you use internal links to tell Google which page is the most important page, all that stuff.
Yeah, and then on the concept of Google too, I mean, obviously they provide great tools for this.
Absolutely.
So Google Analytics, and free for the most part.
Oh, yes.
So people underutilize those a lot, and I don't think we need to talk more to that. But I'm kind of curious about the other platforms, the ones you pay for, or the ones that are maybe free or partly free. What do you kind of recommend as like attachment tools to Google tools and social tools that you would utilize to help with those strategies?
You're spot on. There's like a ton of tools out there, but that also is a problem because some of the tools are way below par, right? And then some tools are absolutely phenomenal and are free, right? So you touched upon Google Analytics, Google Search Console. Those are great free tools to get some questions. Even just the standard Google page, SERPs page, right?
Yeah.
They have the people also ask
Yep.
come up.
Yeah.
You've got the drop down Google Instant,
Yeah.
right? Brings up, surfaces a lot of things. So you can do so much with all that free stuff. Then you get into paid tools, and then if you talk about social, I don't get too much into the social side of things, but even within social, you've got things like Hootsuite, etc. In fact,
They're just there, yeah.
exactly.
We talked to them earlier.
There you go. So you can use them for scheduling stuff, right?
Yep.
And then you've got free tools like you want to compress images. There's tiny PNG, etc. You want to
Yeah,
compress
yeah.
because that's one of the other mistakes people make. They just take a photo from their phone, and now phones have developed so much.
Yeah.
I still remember back in the early 2000s, you would say, and you would go looking for a camera 3 megapixels or 2 megapixels, and that was a proper professional camera you were looking at.
Yeah, I remember
right?
having a 4
and you would
megapixel.
you would pay hundreds of dollars
You
for
were-
it, right? And today you're carrying around a 14 megapixel,
Yeah.
or I don't know what the latest is.
This one shoots 4K.
There you go,
Can you
4K
believe it?
ultra high definition, right? But imagine what happens if you just take a picture and upload it to your site from there.
I know.
That's probably a 4 meg picture you've just uploaded, and I see that all the time.
And it affects everything from the user
Page
experience.
speed, user
yeah.
experience, all of that,
All of that.
bandwidth, all of that.
And one of the key points you touched on there, images, and a lot of people don't optimize images, not just compression, but also like for considering search terms as
Yes,
well. Actually
yes.
naming the alt text within images and
Yes.
whatnot, people overlook. Tools like HubSpot allow you to do that. So if you upload a image to a landing page in HubSpot tools,
Yep.
it'll tell you what the alt text of that image is, and then you alter it obviously to whatever key terms and stuff are essential for that page to perform better.
Yep.
Like, do you believe in that practice, and do you,
Okay,
encourage it?
So I haven't checked out that exact HubSpot tool you're talking about, but from whatever I know, and again, I'm going to talk a little bit about AI and SEO in my session tomorrow.
AI sounds cool.
In the alt text thing that we're talking about, it's not developed so much that a program can look at the picture and tell you exactly what it is. Right?
Yeah.
It can tell a lot.
Yeah,
It's evolved significantly, no questions.
Yeah.
But it's got issues with gender understanding as well, right? It's got issues if you put an apple and a grapefruit or something similar.
Yeah.
It will have difficulty identifying that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I would say stay away from. Yeah, you can use that to see what it is. If it seems on the correct path, you just modify it, but don't just blindly say, okay, whatever the alt text is, I'll go for it.
Yeah.
And then SEOs, on the other hand, have a really bad habit. They think that's the place to keyword stuff their keywords in there. Right?
Yeah.
And that's again a wrong practice,
Keyword
because the
stuff,
idea of the alt text is for someone who's has a hard time reading, right? They use a screen reader,
Yeah.
so they should know what that image is about.
Yeah.
So,
Image of
image of a person,
Yeah.
reading a book or something.
Yes.
Not for you to say, hey, That's
Mhm.
XYZ keywords. Boom, boom, boom.
Doesn't help me at all with my accessibility
Exactly.
issues.
Absolutely.
No,
Absolutely.
well, look, that was all really fascinating. I don't want to talk too much more on the topics we're going to discuss because you've obviously got your prezzo tomorrow, and I don't want to spoil too much of it. But I've done a little bit of research on you, and I want to just ask one more kind of question around, in terms of like your session earlier, where you talked a lot about like Mueller and Sullivan on, their like quotes and stuff from social and all that you cultivated for years. Um, should we be looking for, and I guess it's more a holistic question, should we be looking for more ways to find our own angles of creating our own strategic pathways rather than relying on the voices of all these people telling us to do one thing versus another? Like, should we be looking to investigate our own way of talking about strategy, paving our own pathways?
Yeah.
Is that something that you would encourage?
Uh, I personally would probably stay away, and I'll tell you why. Most people will fail at that because you would need a lot of knowledge,
Mm.
a lot of understanding,
A lot of
a
dedication,
lot
right?
of dedication, a lot of
Yeah.
access to a lot of data points,
Mm.
right? Which they won't. Like, I run an agency, so I'm able to see a lot of websites and I can say, this is right, this is wrong, this seems to be working or not, right?
Yeah.
But when you only have one,
Mm.
and remember, your website, if you think of it as an experiment, right?
Mm.
Because you're making changes,
Mm.
you might think you did this,
Mm.
and you think cause, is it causation, causes?
Causality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one.
Yeah.
Seems right.
Yeah. It
So,
seems right.
so you might think that that's what caused it, but
Yes.
it could be you're working in such a dynamic environment.
Yeah.
There are 10 other things that are happening,
Yeah.
and any one of those could have caused that improvement in ranking, and as an example, right?
That's very true.
And you might think, oh, it was because I did this,
Mm.
and therefore you end up down the wrong path.
Mm.
So I think listening to what the Google guys are saying and giving advice
Yes.
is really a good way for most of the audience,
Mm.
right? And then people who are really, really advanced, they can take that
Mm.
and they can marry it with their own knowledge and then chart their own
Yeah,
paths.
I kind of agree with your point. Obviously, as a digital marketer myself, people look to me, my clients look to me, for insights, knowledge, understanding, for strategy, and whatnot. Obviously, for you as well. So I think it's very keen what you're saying in that they must, listen to us, obviously, to get the best, out of their investment in working with us, obviously.
Yes.
But I think to that as well, they should be, looking at their own unique paths as well, in a sense, but always be guided, whatever
Absolutely.
niche that they work in. Like, I've worked with clients in some really extreme niches, and you have to think really out of the box for what approaches you can take with those kinds of clients.
Absolutely.
So often a collaborative approach really helps with that.
Yes.
So always encourage that. Like you saw from my Prezzo,
Yes.
workshopping, it's great for that.
I totally agree. Collaborative approach where it's a partnership
Mm.
is the best approach.
100%.
Because the clients generally have a lot of expert knowledge in their domain,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And we have expert knowledge around digital marketing,
Mhm.
right? You marry the two,
Mm.
and magic happens.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like, the client knows best about what they sell and how they sell it. To get in their heads and then see how their perspective is, and then how you can help power that influence and enable them to do it better. There's a great marry up of partnerships there, which I always
Perfect.
encourage. I think it's great. Yeah. So, well, look, thank you for your time, Sid. I don't want to take too much more of it, but
Thank you.
everyone listening, we're at
DigiMarCon.
DigiMarCon 2022. Sid will be presenting tomorrow. What time tomorrow?
I think it's at 10:30.
10:30 or so. Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. Perfect. Just after morning coffee, so you'll be ready to go. So make sure you join in with this talk. He's a great, knowledgeable source of information, and highly pick his brain as much as you can, like I've done
Thank you
just
so
now.
much.
So,
Babe,
yes.
thank you so much for the interview.
No, well, thank you,
And
Sid. It's been a
I
pleasure.
enjoyed your presentation as well.
Oh, thank
so,
you.
So look up his presentation as well. And, you have to plug yourself. as
Oh,
well.
I've been doing all these interviews all day. I don't want to oversaturate myself.
All right. Thank you, mate. Take
Thank
care.
you, Sid. Take care. Thank you, everyone, for watching.